2014 was a year of personal risk and professional reward for music legend Sting.
Nothing of value is devoid of risk.
From lead singer to solo artist, and this year, producer of a multi-million-dollar show on Broadway. Why Sting is telling this story on The Great White Way, and what the rock god thinks of today's biggest music stars. Plus, what vanity
I'm gorgeous.
has to do with his legacy. All in this edition of Encore.
I look at you, Sting, and I mean, you just had this amazing career. But then for you to go out again, and in many ways risk your reputation one more time for this. Why?
Nothing of value is devoid of risk. You know, and I enjoy that risk. I mean, what am I? Risking my reputation. I'm not risking my life. And I've always taken risks with the artistic decisions I've made, whether it's the kind of music I play or the way I present myself as an adult. You know, I'm a 63-year-old man. I'm not, you know, I'm not pretending that I'm a kid.
I think the New York Observer said 63-year-old man with a 21-year-old body.
Okay, yeah. And a 14-year-old mind, but I like risk. I like it's, you know, it's exciting for me to do things that are difficult and then succeed. We hope.
Which is what you've done your whole life, essentially.
Yeah, I have a good track record there, so hopefully this will work too. Maybe it won't.
Let's talk about The Last Ship. How difficult was it to put this thing together?
I've chosen the most difficult thing you could possibly do on Broadway: a musical and an original musical that's, you know, written from the bottom up. Most musicals are based on a pre-existing property, you know, a movie, a successful movie, or a fairy tale that everyone knows. And so introducing something that's entirely new, a story, a scenario that's completely fresh, is the most difficult thing you can do on Broadway. And I knew that going in, but it's so satisfying to fight this battle.
This is somewhat based on your own life history and growing up around Newcastle. So is this musical also a little bit about a statement or a commentary about how we're living today, the economy, the labor force? I
was born and raised in a shipyard town in the north of England, literally in the shadow of a shipyard. Giant ships would loom over my street. My earliest memories of giant ships. And I did everything in my power to escape working in that shipyard. My grandfather had worked there. Most of the people who lived around me worked in the shipyard. It was toxic, it was dangerous, it was noisy. I didn't want to end up there. So I studied hard at school. I got a scholarship to a good education. I practiced music. I had this dream about being a musician. So it's ironic that I would go back there in my creative life to actually pay homage to the community I came from. The shipping industry was destroyed really by economic forces beyond the power of the community. There's no way it could have survived. And yet the message of community being the basis of economics is an important one. I don't think you can have economic theories that don't think of communities being a major part of that. Abstract theories don't work for me in that sense. So the industry was destroyed and the community went down. And this story is
destroyed by what, though? Destroyed by modernization?
It's a story about, you know, it was cheaper to build ships in Korea and Japan because they were subsidized, and our government at the time refused to subsidize the shipbuilding industry. And so there was wasn't exactly fair. The playing field wasn't level. It had nothing to do with the workmanship of these ships. It was, you know, they'd been building ships for hundreds of years, and the best ships. And so we were very proud of that work. And then it went. And so the thing that identified us as a community was taken from us. And I think people in Detroit would understand that idea. You know, when you take an industry away from a community, how do they identify themselves? How does that community stay in, you know, together? And so my community suffered in the same way.
So has it been nail-biting? A nail-biting experience?
It still is. I mean, it's the voyage of a ship. You know, we're trying to keep this ship afloat. Right. Every day is a new surprise. We make 3 steps forward, 2 back, and I announced I was going into the play, which was a surprise to me. I didn't anticipate this, but whatever it takes to keep this ship afloat, I will do. And I'm enjoying the struggle.
So what triggered it? Was it looking at the ticket sales?
Looking at, your figures don't lie. Like all the new musicals on Broadway at the moment, we're fighting the same battle.
Yeah.
And we all have the same kind of figures, exactly. Luckily, we have a secret weapon, which is me. And I announced it, and then we took a stellar box office last week. So that's clearly working.
So what's stellar? Can you say?
Can I say? I think we did 1.3 million in a week, which
Okay.
is more than enough to keep us afloat.
Is that like a 50% rise from
I
before?
would say
or
more than 50.
More than 50%. Okay. So how come you didn't do that in the first place?
It wasn't my intention. You know, I'm very happy with the play as it is without me in it. But as I said, it's a difficult thing to get across to the public, that this is something they will enjoy. So I'm hoping that by going into it for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we'll reach a tipping point. Because word of mouth is very good, but word of mouth is slow. You know, it takes time. Or maybe 2 people have to tell you to go and see a play before you'll decide. So, you know, maybe 60,000 extra people will see it because I'm in it, and their word of mouth would take us to the Shangri-La, to the promised land of survival.
Since we are a business network, we like to dig into these numbers,
Yeah.
right? So how much have you actually put of your own money into the last
Well,
ship?
you know, I put the last 5 years of my life, and time is money.
Okay.
I haven't invested in the show. We have some very good investors. In fact, we could have bankrolled this thing in one day. So many people wanted to do that. But you know, finance and me are not particularly, you know, we're not comfortable bedfellows. You know, I'm an artist, and I let other people do that kind of thing.
So you let other people raise the money then, or find the investors to go. Did you care who was invested in this?
Actually,
show?
I was very fortunate because the 2 people who owned my record company from the 70s, Herb Albert and Jerry Moss, were A&M Records, saw the workshop and decided that they would back me one more time. I've known them for a long time, and they trust me. And they're also artists in their own right. And so it was...
So they understood the concept.
They understood the concept.
They understood where the show was
They understood
going.
it wasn't easy, too. I have a good relationship with our investors, and they're enjoying the struggle, too.
Coming up,
I've made my money, I'm well off.
how today's musicians turn into business titans.
I'm impressed by it.